What's going on? The Real Jonathan Smith Show here on Indies Sports Tickets. You can also watch the live stream on Twitter. Just follow us at Ticket1430. You can watch it on YouTube as well. Just go subscribe to Indies Sports Ticket on YouTube. The chat here, it's pretty great. I won't lie to you. The chat's pretty awesome. I think we're talking about laundering money at mattress stores and things like that. So yeah, you definitely want to get in on that conversation. We're also talking about how the Dallas Mavericks might be the best team left in these NBA playoffs. Now, look, this might be an extreme overreaction to last night's game, but they went on the road and they beat the big bad Wolves last night. They didn't shoot the ball well either. Usually when teams win playoff games on the road, they shoot the ball at least decently well from three. The Mavericks were 6 of 25 from downtown. That is 24% from behind the 3-point line. Okay, like I had to double check and make sure I wasn't watching like IU play. I was like, am I like watching a game that I accidentally recorded? Is that what's happening here? It wasn't. No, the Mavericks just didn't shoot the ball. They shot the ball horrendously. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves shot 18 of 49 from three, which is 37%. The Timberwolves outscored the Mavericks by 36 from behind the 3-point line, and they lost. That's the game you can't lose if you are the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay? Like that's the game that you can't lose. You can't. Like you hold the Mavericks to 24% shooting from three and you lose? They outshot the Mavericks like across the board. Jaden McDaniels, probably the third or fourth best the fourth best offensive player for the Timberwolves, scored 24 points. Kyle Anderson off the bench scored 11 points on 5 of 8 shooting. Naz Reid was awesome off the bench on both ends of the floor. The Timberwolves got contributions from all of their role players, and they lost. Anthony Edwards didn't play well, though. The Mavericks, I thought, did a great job of defending him. They kept him out of the lane, and I expect for all these national media outlets to rip Anthony Edwards the way that they did Haliburton after the games that Haliburton struggled in throughout these playoffs. Did you know that Anthony Edwards has failed to score 20 points or more in 3 out of his last 4 games? And he's failed to score 20 points or more in 4 out of his last 6 games. He hasn't been as good here lately. And I just want for people to treat Anthony Edwards the same way that they have treated Tyrese Haliburton, who, despite not playing well in some games, has always responded well the following game. Anthony Edwards hasn't done that. He was bad in Game 7 against the Nuggets on offense, 6 of 24 from the floor, and then he responds by shooting 6 of 19 against the Mavericks. Come on now. I just want him to be held accountable the same way that Tyrese Haliburton has been throughout these playoffs. And the second best guy for the Timberwolves and Karl Anthony Towns wasn't much better. Here's a word from the wise. Okay, when you're picking series, when you're betting series and outcomes and things like this, when two teams are evenly matched, take the team with the best player in the series. Okay, that is a large part of why I think the Dallas Mavericks are the best team left. That's why, like, if they win that series and they play Boston, I'm taking the Mavericks to beat Boston because the Mavericks are going to have the best player in the series in Luka Doncic. Okay? Like he's the dude. So when you're looking at series and you're like, I don't know who to pick, ask yourself the question, who's the best player in the series? Take that guy, especially if he's played on that stage before. Luka is the best player left in the playoffs, and he's been in the conference finals before. Okay, he was in the conference finals 2 years ago. Okay, and he was that dude in this game on both ends of the floor, especially late in the fourth quarter. Okay, he got off to a halfway decent start, but it was a lot of Kyrie Irving early, who had 24 points in the first half. He only finished with 30. He very easily could have had 40, but Luka really got going in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, that Kyrie just didn't get the ball enough. I really like the way that Dallas plays offense. I think, we think that it's ball-centric. Or that it's very Luka-centric. I don't think that it is. It's a lot of, is Luka playing well right now? Okay, then we're going to put the ball in his hands. If he's not, is Kyrie playing well? Oh, he is. Okay, then let's put the ball in his hands. The Mavericks have had stretch throughout these playoffs where they've put the ball in Jaden Hardy's hands. You probably don't even know who that is, and that's okay. He's like the 8th guy for the Mavericks. Okay, he's the 3rd guy off the bench. Okay, so they really just kind of roll with who's making good decisions and who's shooting the ball well right now. We want the ball in that guy's hands, even if it isn't Luka. And I really like the way that has worked for them. Okay, Luka played a near perfect game down the stretch, and that's why he had the ball. He scored 15 of his 33 points in the fourth quarter, and he came up with multiple big defensive stops late. If you hear someone utter any sort of sentence relaying the idea that Luka Doncic is not a good defender, they are telling on themselves. If you hear somebody say something like that, they are telling you that they haven't watched the Dallas Mavericks play in these playoffs. Okay, players are shooting 42% from the field when defended by Luka Doncic in these playoffs. That is the lowest field goal percentage when guarded by any player in these playoffs. Luka Doncic has turned into a solid defender. He has improved by leaps and bounds on that side of the ball to a point where you can't just isolate him and expect to score. You can't do it. That's just not an option. Okay, because Luka has turned himself into a good defender. The Clippers tried to isolate him with James Harden and Paul George in their first round series against the Clippers, and it didn't work. The Thunder tried to do it. They tried to isolate him on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams, the good one from Santa Clara, and it didn't work. The Timberwolves tried to do it last night, and it did not work. Luka has done a tremendous job of becoming a good defender. Okay, he has. And the reason why I went on that whole rant, or the reason why I just waxed poetic, that's the proper term. The reason why I just waxed poetic on Luka Doncic and his ability to play defense and how much better he's gotten on that side of the ball is because he gives me hope for Tyrese Haliburton. Coming into the series before game one, I said that another one of the reasons why I'm picking the Celtics to win that series is because Tyrese Haliburton is not a good defender. Okay, and we are going to walk away from these playoffs, and Tyrese Haliburton is going to have his exit meeting, and he's going to sit down with Rick Carlisle and Kevin Pritchard and these dudes, and they're going to look at him in his eyes and say, "Hey, Tyrese, you are a bad defender, and we cannot win a championship if you can't at least be a halfway decent defender." Okay, because the Celtics here in Game 2 tonight, they are going to continue to hunt Tyrese Haliburton. Okay, Haliburton defended 16 shots in game 1, and the Celtics made over half of them. Okay, like they're going to continue to hunt him. They're going to continue to try and figure out ways to put Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown matched up on him, and they're going to make Haliburton play defense. And because he's not going to do a good job of getting stops, the Celtics are going to win this series. And here's the thing. If Luka Doncic can become a good defender, then so can Tyrese Haliburton. Okay, like we're going to continue to see the Celtics pick on Haliburton throughout this series. Okay, like Haliburton's pretty gaunt. Okay, which makes it tougher for him to defend stronger players, but his length should help him. Just like how Luka's size and burliness helps him to also defend. Okay, like Haliburton has good measurables to be a good defender. He's 6'5" with a 6'8" wingspan. He should have no problem defending guards, but he does. Okay, like I'm not out here asking for Haliburton to get stops on 6'9" Jason Tatum or 6'8" Jaylen Brown. Like that's an unrealistic expectation to place upon Tyrese Haliburton. I don't expect him to be able to get stops against those guys, but I do expect him to be able to guard maybe, I don't know, Derek White or Drew Holiday, who had 28 points in game 1. I don't think that that's too far-fetched of an idea. Okay, Haliburton has to be better at defending, especially since he's quick. Like he moves well. He moves better laterally than Luka Doncic does. Yet Luka is a better defender than Tyrese Haliburton. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like Haliburton is athletic enough to be able to get into a stance and stay in front of the ball, and he can't do it. Okay, like the Pacers are going to lose this series in part, not entirely because Haliburton's not a good defender. Okay, and that is what we've seen happen to Dallas in the past, right? Like they have lost series before this year because Luka just wasn't very good defensively. Right? The same thing happened to Denver. Jokic wasn't very good defensively, and that's why they lost. You could argue that's part of why they lost to the Timberwolves in the previous round. Like Jokic just doesn't defend the rim very well, and that's an issue. But when we look at Dallas and Luka specifically, those losses in the playoffs for Luka led to him working on becoming a much better defender. Okay, I think we'll see the same thing happen to Haliburton after this season. Like I expect him to really focus in on the defensive side of the ball in the offseason, right? Because like that's the area that he really needs to improve in because he's just not a very good defender. And because of Luka's ascension as a defensive player, the Mavericks are now potentially going to win a title because of it. Okay, like they've got a firm grip on that Western Conference Final Series. Like they've already stolen a game on the road against Minnesota in a game that they didn't even play very well in. Like the Mavericks are going to play a lot better than that. Like they're not going to shoot 24% from three in every single game in this series. Okay, and Luka is not going to start that slow every single game in this series. And Kyrie's not going to finish with 6 points scored in the second half every game of this series. Like there's a lot of room for improvement for the Dallas Mavericks going forward, right? And their experience, right? Like Kyrie Irving has won a title before. He was a large part of it. Hey, Luka Doncic has played in the Western Conference Finals before, right? Not even that long ago, right? So Dallas is going to win that series just as I predicted. I took Dallas to win the whole thing before the playoffs even started because they're just a really good basketball team. They're complete. They play defense. They score. They can shoot the basketball. They got guys that know and understand their roles, and they are better because of it. And they've improved a lot throughout the course of the season, part of that being because of trades that they made at the trade deadline. But either way, like they've come along and they have improved throughout the season. Just like Caitlin Clark, she has continued to improve. The Indiana Fever lost again last night. A very winnable game, late turnover that you could argue probably cost them the game. You could definitely make that argument. But she's coming along. Okay? Like we're 5 games into Caitlin Clark's career, and it's like every time I watch, it seems like she just figured another small thing out. Okay, she led the Fever last night in plus minus. She was +7. Okay, which means that in the 7 minutes she did not play, the Fever were outscored by 9 points. Okay, like when she's on the floor, this Fever team is noticeably better. Aaliyah Boston was -18. She did not have a very good game. She's just not shooting the ball very well and not rebounding very well either. She only played 15 minutes last night. That's not an okay thing, but this is about Clark, not Aaliyah Boston. Look, 21 points. She didn't shoot the ball very well. Only, 6 of 16 from the floor, 2 of 8 from 3. But something that I like about her, I wish Haliburton would sit down and watch her. She gets to the rim, and when she does, she gets fouled. She was 7 of 9 from the free throw line because of her ability to get into the lane. That sets her up for so many assists. She had 7 assists last night. She's such a good passer, man. And here's the best part. It wasn't like she had 7 assists and 7 turnovers like she's had in the past. She had 7 assists to 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers, it's still a lot. That's still too many, but much better than 10 like she had, in her debut. Okay, so she has improved. She's getting there. I think this Indiana Fever team is going to be more than fine. Like they seem like they're going to be able to compete to potentially, make the playoffs, right? Like I think that that's what we're going to see. Can't wait to watch the Fever season continue. Can't wait to watch Pacers Celtics game 2 tonight. I like the Pacers to keep it close. They cover the 9-point spread. I don't know if they win because it's just tough to win road games in the playoffs, especially when you're young and inexperienced. So we'll see how they do. Are they capable of winning this game? Yeah, of course they are. Okay, like I saw them win a game 7 on the road in Madison Square Garden. Okay, if you can win that game, you can beat you can beat the Celtics in game 2 in the other garden. TD Garden, I believe is what it's called. But Pacers are going to be fine going forward. Even if they lose tonight, like it is not the end of the world. Okay, like I can see my opening statements for tomorrow's show already. The Pacers losing game 2 on the road is not the end of the world. Just refer back to the Knicks series. Okay, they're going to be fine. Coming up Sunday, the Indy 500, all that's happening. I gotta be honest. Like I'm supposed to talk about the Indy 500. Like I don't really care about it. I don't. Like I'm a big believer that like I want to go to sporting events that people talk about the sporting event, right? Like when I talk, I'm gonna get into this a little bit more tomorrow. Like when I talk to people that go to the 500, they're never like the race was awesome. They're always like we got hammered and that was awesome. I'm like okay, was like the race cool? Like I don't know, I don't really remember. That's just I don't know. That doesn't sound super appealing for a guy like me, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I need to go at some point, while I'm here in Indy. I just I don't get it. We'll see. We'll see. Coming up here in about 5 minutes, it's the Dan Dockett Show. I'm sure he'll have plenty of thoughts on game 2 tonight. Should be good. Should be a lot of fun listening to Dan talk. Who knows? Maybe he'll talk more about poop or something today. I don't know. Or dumps. Excuse me. Dumps. My bad. So he's the Dan Dockett Show coming up here in about 5 minutes. Thank you for tuning into the Real Jonathan Smith Show. I'll be back again tomorrow with another show for you guys starting at 11 before we move to our new time, 10 a.m. on Tuesday of next week. Cannot wait. That's coming up. But first, the Dan Dockett Show coming up here at noon. Talk to you tomorrow.